ACCAN is a relatively new organisation. We've just been operating since the beginning of July, and we have a pretty clear idea of the sorts of things that we want to do. We want to work for communications for all Australians, and there are lots of tools that can be used in that process. So many of them involve interactions with regulators and policymakers, and that ACCAN, as it's setting out, firstly, its first strategic plan, its work plans, and starting to form relationships both with its member organisations and regulators, wants very much to do that in a way that's going to be most productive and most constructive. It's our view that the current model is not as effective as it could be. In fact, there are many who think it's hopeless, that there are lots and lots of forums where lots of words are exchanged but few ideas, where agreement is often eluded, and that so many of the areas of policy and action remain in areas of uncertainty and doubt. Well, we're not going to solve all of that today, but what we can do is to begin a new process of engagement with one another, and a new process of engagement with regulators. We're really delighted to have with us in this first panel regulators from three of the fairly critical areas for consumer welfare in Australia. And then in the session after the tea break, a number of very senior policy individuals to talk about the second dimension of our seminar, which is about evidence-based policy making. Of course, the two are connected. The way in which regulators do their work and the policy settings that justify the interventions in the legislation in the first place, and the establishment of those arrangements. We want to explore all of those. We want it to be interactive, and to that end, we're making a recording of these proceedings, which will be cut down to an edited version that will be posted on our website as a webcast, and also made available on DVDs for the many people who aren't able to attend. Lots of our members are outside Sydney, lots outside New South Wales and in rural and remote areas, lots in Indigenous areas who weren't able to join us today, but we think that many of the ideas that will be discussed this afternoon will also be of great interest and importance to them, and so we're wanting to capture that. That'll lead to some of the slight complications in the way in which the proceedings are going with different microphones, and in addition we have a hearing loop system, so when it comes to making comments or asking questions, it'll be necessary for people to use the microphone and to speak clearly so that our interpreters can pick up those things as well. So what do we want to do first? First, we want to have a conversation with three regulators. The first speaker will be Peter Kell, who is the Deputy Chair of the Australian Competition and Consumer Commission, an organisation that has a lot to do with aspects of communications and consumer protection generally, an enforcement agency, a regulator, and in a de facto way, a policy body as well. After all, the things that the ACCC either decides to take up or not take up give it quite a bit of discretion, and hence a de facto policy role. And Peter will be followed by Delia Rickard from the Australian Securities and Investments Commission, and then Chris Chapman, Chair of the Australian Communications and Media Authority. And special thanks to the ACMA, who have met most of the costs of us arranging this seminar this afternoon, and we're very grateful for that. And hence we're giving Chris the opportunity of being the final speaker in that panel. Each of the speakers will speak briefly about some of the aspects of their organisation, and then there'll be an opportunity to respond to some specific questions, and we'll invite some questions from participants as well. Remember, informality is a key part of this. We want it to be a fast-moving process. We want to bring out the issues that matter, and as a result, as I said at the beginning, to try and set the scene for a new form of conversation and relationship with regulators. And you'll see on your in your pack a card with the CVs of all of the speakers, so I'd encourage you to have a look at those. Also outside, there are various research reports from ACCAN that you may wish to take away with you. So let me now invite Peter Kell to make some introductory comments. Peter.